In this episode of Lore of Ice and Fire, we are talking about the Red Keep. The story told between the facts is the story of a maester during the sack of King's Landing. We use facts from the books to keep it as accurate as possible. The Red Keep is a castle in King's Landing. It stands proud on Aegon's Hill, overlooking Blackwater Bay. The keep has massive red stone walls protecting everything within. It has 7 large towers, and it is said that Dragonstone can be seen from the highest one on a clear day. It also holds the Iron Throne, the seat of the King of Westeros.
So our time was up in King's Landing. We headed to the stables where our horses were held to get back on the trail. I was surprised by the sights of King's Landing and the way the city was seemingly run. We unlashed our horses and were set to mount when a call from the criers for all maesters to meet at the Red Keep under order of the king started repeating. I knew I'd better go see if I might offer my aid. I dismounted my horse and began making my way through the crowds. On my way I noticed Lannister forces entering the city. I thought this a good sign, but just as swiftly as hopes of help came, they were washed away when their weapons were drawn and they started cutting down every person, man, woman or child who found themselves unlucky enough to get in the way. I needed to get to the Red Keep and find out what was happening.
When Aegon the Conqueror invaded Westeros, setting foot in an area near King's Landing, he needed a base of operations. On the highest of 3 hills in the area, he constructed a fort of earth and wood. Later, that hill became known as Aegon's Hill, and that fort of earth and wood turned into the Red Keep. This did not happen until his conquest was complete, and the sad thing is, Aegon didn't even see the completion of the Red Keep. This happened 48 years later, during the reign of the 3rd Targaryen king.
We made a mad dash through the streets to find cover as the Lannister soldiers seemed intent on killing everybody within arm's reach. I rounded a corner and came face to face with a Lannister atop a horse. I barely dodged the swing of his blade as I sharply shifted direction. A spot of guilt hit me as I saw the soldier's attention snap to a father and his 3 children as the guard cut them apart one by one. My mind snapped back to its attention and I ran forward towards the Red Keep.
The Red Keep holds many massive chambers and towers. One of the most interesting towers is Maegor's Holdfast. This is basically a castle within a castle. It holds royal apartments and also the king's bedchamber. The only way to access Maegor's Holdfast is by a drawbridge. A knight of the King's Guard is always stationed to guard the royal chambers. Another interesting tower is the Tower of the Hand, containing the chambers of the Hand of the King. On the ground level, the Great Hall can be found. The Great Hall holds the Iron Throne and can seat 1,000 people. During the Targaryen reign, dragon skulls decorated the walls, but after the sack of King's Landing, King Robert replaced them all with his hunting trophies.
Within the Red Keep we were told that the crown had made some enemies within the kingdoms and that a siege was expected directly. All maesters were called upon to begin preparations to provide aid to the injured during the coming battle. I rushed to grind down poppies when I heard the horn. We were being attacked by sea. I looked out of the window towards the horizon and was greeted by an armada of Lannister flags drawn closer. As they drew closer I could say they were well prepared. Trebuchets, slings and barrels filled with fire powder I presume. I hurried in my work and turned my back to the window. I had made 7 vials of milk of the poppy. While mixing my 8th I heard the ships begin to beach and the soldiers dismount. A flaming boulder wiped out a nearby stable. Several stable hands and horses were turned into paste as the boulder landed and rolled over them.
King's Landing holds many secrets. One of the more gruesome secrets are the dungeons. It is known that the first 2 levels of the dungeons is for common thieves and outlaws. The 3rd level holds the Black Cells. They are reserved for the most vile and dangerous prisoners. The last and the 4th level is just a myth. It's said to best pass the 4th level in complete darkness, because there are things that no one should see.
We were told to hold the keep as long as possible, but that proved a task too much for a group of maesters. The Lannisters charged the keep before anybody could react. I saw a dozen of my maester brothers slain before I could even move a foot. I raced through the halls, daring not look behind me in fear that a Lannister soldier would be bearing down on me to claim my head. I rounded a corner and pressed my back to the wall's edge before stealing a peek around. Nobody there. I heard a scream coming from the adjacent room. Morbid curiosity took hold of me and I peered through the jarred open door. Before me I saw a woman being brutalized by a huge behemoth of a man next to the bodies of 3 children I assumed were hers. I shamedly admit that I froze in fright and dared not help the woman as the inhumanly huge man treated her as though she was a doll before he crushed her head in his hands. Judging by the clothing scattered around the room, I took the woman to be of Dornish descent, and I pieced together that the giant man was none other than the legendary Lannister's own monster soldier known as the Mountain. I later found out that the woman was Elia Martell, and that she was the dead children's mother. I made a swift escape and continued through the corridors.
During the reign of Maegor, many secret passageways were constructed. It's been said they were there to get the royal crown out of King's Landing in case of a siege. However, not much is known about these walkways, since Maegor ordered every worker to have laid hands upon constructing these passages to be executed.
I hear a voice echo around me, "Burn them all." The voice far from me, yet clearly cutting through the screams of people being slaughtered in the castle around me. I keep my pace, hoping to find a way out of the keep, when I hear it again. "Burn them all. Burn them all." It keeps repeating. I round a corner and am greeted by a man seemingly laying low. Bald and soft voice, he stares at me and realises I mean him no threat. He tells me his name is Varys and offers to show me a way out through one of the old service tunnels made for the maids to travel throughout the area so as to limit their time spent with the lords and ladies of the house. One final shout was cut off mid-sentence. "Burn them all!" was all the soul managed before he was silenced. We swiftly entered the service corridor and made our way in the hope of a safe exit. We see daylight and waste no time at leaving the confines of our hiding place. We came out behind a large bush near the docks. Several ships were taking passengers and leaving the city. I looked toward a black-sailed boat and noticed Yoren waving for me. I ran for the ship and boarded. Sir Davos, the Onion captain, asked Yoren if I was his passenger. Yoren affirmed him, but Davos refused Varys boarding as the deal was for Yoren and his passenger and nobody else. I tried to plead his case but was denied and told should I continue to try to change the captain's mind I would be staying in King's Landing as well. I apologised to Varys as I turned and left him to his fate, and the ship was cast off for Dragonstone.
Thank you for watching this video. If you did enjoy, feel free to subscribe. We upload weekly Game of Thrones content. Also, click the eye in the sky for more videos. Love, Lore of Ice and Fire.